This is Diamond K reporting live from the Radio on Fire studios in Baltimore, Maryland. And we have been on top of this ongoing breaking story as it relates to the ex-mayor, Catherine Pugh. So I want to talk about what Pugh's indictment could mean to Baltimore. In general, corruption is a form of dishonesty or criminal activity undertaken by a person or an organization entrusted with a position of authority. As far as Baltimore City, whether it is the school system, the police department, housing, or city hall, Baltimore has suffered badly after decades of mismanagement. Established back in 1729, Baltimore was the first boom town in the United States. Fast forward to 2019, the city just hit 300 homicides for the fifth year in a row. Things are bad in Baltimore. Leadership is paramount. Security company ADT just ranked Baltimore's residents the most robbed in the United States. Things have really changed. The disgraced former mayor of Baltimore, Catherine Pugh, was charged yesterday with fraud and tax evasion involving sales of her self-published children's book. An 11-count federal indictment accuses Catherine Pugh of using her Healthy Holly books to enrich herself, promote her political career, and fund her run for mayor.
We're here today to announce the federal indictment of former Baltimore City Mayor Catherine Pugh on federal tax and wire fraud charges, as well as the guilty pleas of Gary Brown Jr. and Rosalind Weddington.
Federal authorities say Pugh and two city employees double sold books or failed to deliver them to institutions they were purchased for, including Baltimore City Public Schools. And I talked about how embattled the schools are, how unsuccessful the schools have become. Pugh then allegedly used the proceeds to fund straw donations to her mayoral campaign and to renovate a house.
A federal indictment has been unsealed, charging Catherine Pugh with conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 7 counts of wire fraud, conspiracy to defraud the United States, and 2 counts of tax evasion.
This indictment damages Baltimore city government's credibility, and the credibility of the city government was already damaged. So this further does the job that we don't need it to do. There are multiple others that have participated at various levels, so this thing is probably not over. More indictments may be pending.
Unfortunately, the allegations in Ms. Pugh's indictment and the facts as laid out in Mr. Brown's and Ms. Weddington's plea agreements indicate a betrayal of the public trust. Ms. Pugh took office as mayor of the city of Baltimore on December 6, 2016. According to the indictment, she owned Healthy Holly LLC, a company that she used to publish and sell children's books that she had authored. Between June 2011 and August 2017, 4 Healthy Holly books were published, with each book listing Ms. Pugh as the author. The vast majority of books published by Healthy Holly were marketed and sold directly to nonprofit organizations and foundations, many of whom did business or attempted to do business with the Maryland and Baltimore City governments. The allegations in the indictment fall into 2 categories, those relating to wire fraud and those relating to tax-related charges. In the first category, the indictment alleges that from November 2011 until March 2019, Ms. Pugh conspired with Gary Brown to defraud purchasers of Healthy Holly books in order to enrich themselves, promote Ms. Pugh's political career, and fund her campaign for mayor. Mr. Brown helped Ms. Pugh solicit nonprofit organizations and foundations to buy the Healthy Holly books. The indictment alleges that Ms. Pugh and Mr. Brown employed several methods. First, by accepting payment for the books, but then not delivering them. Second, accepting payments for books and having them delivered, but then converting those books to their own use without the buyer's knowledge. And finally, by double selling books without either buyer's knowledge or consent. In other words, selling copies of a book to one buyer and then selling the same copies of the book to a different buyer.
If convicted, the ex-mayor, Catherine Pugh, faces up to 20 years in prison on each wire fraud count and 5 years for each tax evasion count. The federal government will also seek to seize the house that was owned by Pugh and $770,000 as part of any sentence.
Ms. Pugh violated that trust and abused her position. The interests she prioritized were her own. The indictment announced today is an example of what happens when a public servant engages in a corrupt behavior, seeking personal gain through fraud while occupying a position of public trust. Ms. Pugh blurred the lines between her public duties and private business and failed to act in the best interests of her constituents. Actions by an elected official such as those outlined in the indictment, erode public confidence and undermine the strength of our democracy.
Now, Pugh's attorney, Steve Silverman, declined to comment, and he says that he will address all of these allegations in open court. So does that mean that Catherine Pugh is going to fight this? Does that mean that she's not going to plea out or accept guilt? Is she going to push forward? Does she have something to say? Is she going to do a Nino Brown? If I'm going down, a whole lot of people going down with me. Very interesting things. Baltimore deserves strong leadership that is transparent and totally accountable to the people. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at The Don McKay Show. LinkedIn, at The Don McKay Show, at Radio on Fire. As I said, we're following this story very closely. RadioOnFire.com, the voice of urban America, your urban news source.